Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded August 7th, 2016, and it's titled, Divine Love Raises the Vibration, subtitled, So Bring It to All Places. Wherever you are is the entry point. Come visit us at seasidecenter.org, or you can join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have really great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that awaits you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here.
Wow, okay. Here we go. So, divine love rises the vibration. One of the things, not the thing, but one of the things that is just absolutely love that raises the vibration for me, they actually, did you notice, I'm jumping all over the place, but did you notice what Thursday was here? It was National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. And for me, there's nothing that raises the vibration like a good chocolate chip cookie. Oh my. And so I guess that's where I was getting at, is it definitely is a good vibration. And I don't know, I didn't share the first service, but Kelly Miller, are you sitting here or are you sitting in the back? Kelly Miller, she's one of our practitioners. Bob Mathis, our saxophone player, is her husband. And every week she makes a plate of chocolate chip cookies, and they're hot and sitting in the back between services. So I just was going to shout out and acknowledge her, but yes, I just appreciate that. Oh, there you are. There you go. All the guys love that for sure. And then I moan, I ate one too many. But then the guys eat them all. Sometimes I get none. So, okay, so where am I going? I'm going about love and the vibration. And they're a powerful teacher by Gurdjieff. I don't know if you know George Gurdjieff, heard of him, the 20th century teacher. His teaching was called The Work, spiritual teacher, mystic, and had a community. And he tells the story that there was this one older man in his community who was just not liked. He was obnoxious, he was nasty, he was noisy, he was smelly, and other people just didn't like him. He lasted only a few months until he left the community. And when Gurdjieff got back and found out the guy had left, he got upset. And so he went to Paris to go visit the older gentleman who left and said, hey, I want you to come back. He said, I'm not going back. It was just too rough on me. He said, no, come on back. And so he finally talked him into returning to the community by giving him a big stipend. And so here's this guy. He comes back to this spiritual community where everybody pays Gurdjieff to be part of it, but all of a sudden Gurdjieff has paid this guy that nobody likes to be part of the community, and now the community's up in arms. How dare you? How could you do that? And Gurdjieff told the rest of the guys that this guy is like yeast in the bread. He is the one who will teach you about patience. How can you learn patience without experiencing what he brings you? How can you learn loving kindness without actually having to practice it where it is difficult? And so as you pay me to be your teacher, I pay him to be my assistant, to be yeast in the bread and to stir your heart and soul in those places. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. You know, we learn these things intellectually, but if you really want to be that love vibration, if you want to experience that presence as love, you've got to be willing to bring it to all places. Yes? Okay. So, what about those places that just don't feel loving, like you want to love there? Those are the places that you get to work. It's easy to love all of you here. You know, that goes good. But try doing those that push those buttons that know where they are. Then when that happens, I listen to people. They whine and they kvetch and they complain. And it's like, oh, boy. Hey, are you either in for unconditional love, being that loving vibration that you're bringing to this planet, or are you just kind of in? You're loving at Seaside, but when I'm out in the world, then there's something different. No, you're either in or you're out. And if you're in, then I want you to really be in. And if you're out, I want you to really be out. Either way is okay, but what happens is people begin to straddle this whole kind of thing, and they just whine and they complain, and it's like, have you ever been around those? They always convention. I was like, oh, come on. Here's one. Well, it's not total whining, but this one woman, she was totally afraid of getting cancer. A young woman went to the doctor, got checked out. Doctor said, clean bill of health. You're good. Nothing to worry about. She said, yeah, but I'm really afraid of cancer. He said, yeah, it's good. You're good. So she came back a couple weeks later to get another examination. And he came back and said, your body's clean. You're in good shape. There is no cancer. Nothing to worry about. Well, this went on for years. Every few months she would come back to get checked, and she would get years and years. Every few months she would come in and get the same report, and there is no cancer. You're clean. You're healthy. Finally, when she was 80 years old, she went to the doctor. Doctor came back and said, I got bad news. This time the report didn't come back clean. You got cancer. And she raised her hands and said, hey, I told you so. What are you going to continue to complain and claim in your life? Are you one who is complaining, or are you one who is going to be that beautiful expression of the divine spirit? James Mitchell, you probably read one of his novels. He wrote a lot of them. Later on in life, in his 70s, after he had heart surgery and was living with vertigo and had hip replacement, he was asked, and why do you keep on writing at this point in your life? And he said, well, I grew up on a place where there was an old apple tree that just stopped producing. And the owner came out one day and took some nails and pounded some nails into the trunk of that apple tree. And it is amazing that year it had its best crop ever. Well, I do that for myself. I take this pain, and it reminds me that what I need to do is bring forth the fruit. I came here to bring fruit, not to complain and whine and saying, oh, isn't this horrible and terrible, but rather I'm going to use those kind of experiences to bring forth what it is I have. And what I'm here to remind us is what's going on in your life is what you have to bring forth the love vibration that this world hungers for. We got the news feeding us all sorts of stuff. This world needs more than ever you to be that spiritual leader that brings love to those headlines, the one who brings love to the places of conflict and conversations. You are the one who's been called for this time in our world to raise this vibration, because we're going through a time. And, when there is, let's say, anger going on in our field of awareness, can happen. We're human. It's okay. Or desire. Or just upset, or you pick it. What I want us to recognize is that those are great sources for wisdom. It's for us to become mindful in those places to say, okay, what is it that can trigger me like that? If really what I want to be is this love vibration, this divine love, what is it that's triggering me in my life? Because here's the opportunity, because obviously there's something inside me that's stirring me in a way that is less than fully expression of love. And so I'm going to be there with it. I'm going to sit with that, and I'm going to take a look at that. Thomas Merton, wonderful monk, writer, he said that true prayer is learned in the hour where prayer is impossible and the heart is turned to stone. He said true prayer, he actually said true prayer and love is learned in that hour when prayer is impossible and our heart turns to stone. That's when you get it. It's nice to pray in classes, and we'll teach you how to do that as well as anybody. But can you do that when that trigger gets pressed inside of you that you were not mindful existed there, and all of a sudden there is this anger that is coming up for you. There is expression that is coming up that is less than loving in your world. Because I'll tell you what, wherever you are is the entry point into your spiritual expression. Wherever you are is the entry point into that spiritual kingdom for the greater experience of that presence, of that God presence. It's the present moment. We know that. It's not in the past, because you know what? That's memory. The past is done. You can't go back and change the past. Well, the future, it's not in the future, because the future is not here yet. It's in your imagination. See, the entry point is right here, right now, in this moment. Can I slow it down enough to enter into that place and begin to experience the presence, experience that life force? Can I enter into that place and begin to feel that? And sometimes what we have to do to enter into that, I mean, it's something we've all heard of, and it's easier said than done. But can I move into that place of forgiveness? Because that person was really a jerk. I mean, bottom line is, man, I better not tell their story because I'm good at telling that story. I lived it at 3 a.m. for weeks on end. I can make them look like, you wouldn't believe how colorful, how I can tell you how that person just messed me up. Forgiveness. No, we want to try forgiveness because those spots are your entry point into the greater spiritual practice within our life. That spot right there is the place where, you know what, I can become mindful and recognize forgiveness. Forgiveness is the foundation. It is, the ground upon which I stand. I want it to be love. God is love. So I want to be here. And all of a sudden, something is stirring inside of me and something happened in my world, and I find myself being caught in that. Well, forgiveness is a willingness to let go of the desire to harm another person, because I'll tell you what, when you're living in that, there's a great deal of pain. If you're holding on to a place of hate is a very painful kind of experience. And there's people who live with the illusion, if I hate enough, I can make the pain go away. And you know what? That is the opportunity to say, there's something else that needs to be known here. I want to free myself from the chains that have me stuck to the very experience I don't want to perpetuate. What's going on in my life needs to be forgiven. Sometimes forgiveness just doesn't make sense. Forgiveness is not really a logical spiritual practice, because my head at 3 a.m., I told you, has got this story that makes no sense to forgive this idiot in my life. But I'll tell you what, there is something about the heart and the soul that wants to be a love vibration in this world, and I got to choose the spiritual practice over the logical sense that my head's making in that moment. Yes, And so, when I'm having difficulty getting there, I just sometimes think of the great forgiveness practices, the reconciliation of the people of Bosnia or Cambodia or South Africa or Rwanda, Northern Ireland. To be able to forgive when what took place was really unforgivable. And what I realize with forgiveness is it sometimes takes time. It's like, everything's fine, isn't it sweet? Hey. When there's really strong injustices that have been expressed, it takes some time to do the deep work, to let it into your heart and to sit there and to forgive and to let go and recognize that's going to come back again and again and again. But I am committed to do the deep work, to move to that place where I can free myself from the chains of that hatred, of that pain, because the person I'm upset with is probably on vacation having a ball anyway. And when you forgive somebody, it doesn't mean you have to hang out with them. Doesn't mean you even have to relate to them. You bless them on their path, but it's no longer my path. Forgiveness doesn't forget, really, and it doesn't condone. It sees wisely. It sees, this is who this person is, and I'm not going to put myself in harm's way, nor do I want anybody else to be put into harm's way. And it's going to take some work to be able to free myself once again. But you know what? I'm up for that. Because what I want to do is to be at that higher place. I'm willing to do the deep work that it takes to forgive. Because I want to be that love vibration that walks in this world. I want to be that. Story I've told of an Argentinian golfer by the name of Roberto Vincenzo. Vincenzo had just won a tournament at the golf course, and he received his check and got the celebrations and the pictures, went into the locker room, got cleaned up, had something to eat. And after the tournament, he was walking out to his car. And this young lady came up to him and said, "Hey, congratulations, that was wonderful. I'm just so excited, for you in Argentina. And when I tell you about my young child who's really sick and may not live, and it's like my heart just is aching." And Roberto said, "Take this." And he took a pen out of his pocket and he signed the back of the check and gave it to her and said, "Make some good days for that little baby." About a week later, he's at the clubhouse having lunch, and some of the officials from the PGA, PGA came and said, hey, some of the guys out there working told us what you did last week. They saw you talk to that lady. I want you to know that woman is a fake, that she doesn't have a husband, she is not married, and she doesn't have a little baby. And Roberto said, you mean there is no little baby dying? And he said, no. He said, well, that's the greatest news I've heard all week. That is fabulous. Hey, is that like instant forgiveness right there? Can one move with that kind of shift like that? Because I'll tell you what, our prayer work is about moving to that sense of connection with God, with that first cause, with that life force, with that all animating something, that first breath, that essence, that joy of all things. So often our prayer looks like, okay, I'm going to pray, and we teach good prayer. Let me tell you, we call it spiritual mind treatment. You know, like one goes to a medical doctor for a physical treatment, one would go to a spiritual practitioner and operate in the realm of mind for a spiritual mind treatment. And so often our spiritual mind treatments are beautiful. The words are powerful, but the power is not in the words. And the words can help take you to a point. But I'll tell you what, so often prayers are, God, I want you to do this. And we're talking to something outside, right? It's not outside. Okay, I want you to bring this abundance. Or I want you to get this young woman who took my money. Or I want this person to feel the pain that I'm in. Or whatever our prayer is, we pray for a thing. But I'll tell you, the real legitimate prayer, the powerful prayer, is when we go beyond our words until there's a complete immersion or connection or absorption into that heavenly experience of the divine essence that is all things, that is omnipresent, and that I become one with that divine vibration, that frequency of love, and allow that to guide me. So I hear that, I am moved by that, and if I got a situation in my life or somebody I love in my world who has pain or difficulty going in, if I can just bring them into that vibration of the divine, healing happens, not because I'm trying to direct the power, but there's nothing unlike it that can remain in that vibration and that frequency of love that we're attempting to be. So you get that difference, that is the step beyond the words to our prayer? Because that's what we're working with here. You want to move to that place. What happens so often is, not often, but we have been bombarded with not necessarily honoring our magnificence of the presence. I mean, you've been to a bookstore. Have you seen the shelf that has these books for dummies? You know, like gardening for dummies, sex for dummies, computers for dummies. Amazon has over 750 titles for books for dummies. And if that's not enough, then they have The Idiot's Guide to Astrology, and they have over 200 titles of that. Can you imagine what we are being bombarded with? Saying, hey, you dumbwits, this book is for you. But that's not the truth of who you are. Who you are is a magnificent expression of the divine. Who you are is a beautiful genius that has been born into this world. I mean, I've thought of creating a whole new niche, books for geniuses. I don't know if it would sell, but, you know, how to date for the really smart ones. You know, I sold one. But it's like, all of a sudden, we have been born this beautiful expression and magnificent expression, and then we have been methodically worn down to buy books for dummies. That's not who you are. Buckminster Fuller, one of the great minds of our era, a futurist, he said that most people don't even begin to recognize the gifts that they were born with, and that most people have been born a genius, and they have been de-geniused rapidly. De-genius, I don't even know if it's a word, but if Buckminster Fuller said it, then I'm sure it is now. But, we've been born a genius. When is the last time somebody told you you were a genius? I'm looking forward for those gifts that you have got to bring into this world. You have got something, and I've been waiting for it. For this is the time. But what has happened is we begin with this dummy or this idiot and forget that really what we are is a love vibration, that we have been given it all. And that what I need to do is get in touch with that vibration of who I am, and it knows all things. But what has happened to me is we've just become complacent to the genius or the intuitiveness or the wisdom of our being. I was at Selamar once, the summer camp, and I was walking out, and this one woman came up to me and said, "Hey, Christian, do you know what time it is?" And I said, I didn't have a watch. I said, I think it's about 10:15. And she said, "No, it can't be. It was 10:15 a half hour ago." And it's like, so why are you asking me if you knew a half hour ago? But we've become so lazy and complacent because we've been methodically beaten down by the headlines and by the books and the media. And I'm here to remind you that you are a love vibration. I just want to feel that vibration of your being and the gift and the light that you have, the purpose for which you have been born into this world to walk, and what it is you have to share. It is a lot and it is meaningful. But what happens is sometimes we forget and lose touch with what is that dharma that I've got to live. And so I come up to a wall or a door, and it's not meant to be. And what happens is I'm tired of looking elsewhere, and we try to pray it open. I'll tell you what, it's about going to experience the presence. It's not telling the presence, open this door. And if you can't pray open a door, don't bother trying to pry it open, because it's not your door. You know, there are many other doors for you to take a look at and experiences for you to have. But we want it, and we rush, and we push. I'm going to force my way. I saw the hula hoops out here. I didn't tell this story at the first service, but it reminded me. Remember Whammo, right? Hula hoops and Frisbees. Well, one of the owners of Whammo in the early 60s was vacationing in Africa, a tent by a dry lake, and it rained that night, and he woke up, and there was water in the lake, and there were fish in the lake. There were like instant fish. And so when he came back, he talked to the biologist or somebody from his company here in California. He said, yeah, in Africa, there's a fish that lays the eggs, and when it dries out, when it rains and meets water, it instantly, it needs water to produce the fish from the eggs. And so this guy said, I'm a genius. That's the next great gimmick, instant fish. And so, you know, they started bringing the fish over, and they started building fish tanks all over. And at the New York toy show that year, they said, you know, instant fish, it was the hit of the show. They sold over $10 million worth of contracts. And then in the early 60s, that was a lot. They stopped taking orders, and people found out where their room was, and they were slipping it under. But they forgot to tell the fish about the success of this program. And what they came to discover is the fish could not lay the eggs that fast and that many. Didn't matter how many fish they had. You know, they put the shades on, they turned the lights, they tried to create the right mood. You know, they heated up the tank, they piped in romantic music into the water, you know, and they laid a big egg. It just didn't work. You know, they had to give it all. But that's what happens when we try to force things, when we rush things, when we're not in touch with the divine rhythm of the love and the vibration and the frequency, when we're trying to make something happen, when it's not the time or it's not right for us to do. What is it? That's right. I'll tell you what. You get quiet and you listen. Yeah, this is good. You know, this feels right. But what happens is we're just moving too fast in our society. You know, yeah. Now you can order a laptop, and by the time it gets to your door, it's obsolete. Things are just moving down. And you know, you can do speed dating now, you know, where they have these groups, you meet in a hotel, and you sit across from somebody, and you got 60 seconds to see if it's a match. And then if it doesn't work with them, you move on to the next person in the chair in front of you, and you move on to the next chair. You know, we like things fast. I heard it kind of works. You know, that first hit, you got to trust it. Or here's one. You know, now you can go to Las Vegas, and you can get married without the awful inconvenience of getting out of your car. You know, it's like you can... Things are moving fast. China has a train that goes over 300 miles an hour. The earth spins at 1,000 miles per hour. We're going around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour. It's moving fast. We sometimes forget that slowing down and getting quiet is an option. I'm going to meditate. I'm just going to sit here and breathe and realize what I'm looking for is not over there, but it's right here. Right here in this moment. I'm going to slow down. It's not about getting over there. It's about feeling that which I am, which is what I've come to recognize more in my meditations and my prayer that is beyond the words. I'm going to feel that and recognize that Spirit's moving here. This is the moment. This is it. Have you ever been on that road to Hana in Maui? Yeah. What a road. Yeah, I see all the hands. It's one of those memorable experiences. And, you know, it's a 30-mile road with 620 turns and just just two one-way single lanes going in opposite directions, unless they aren't. Like there's 54 one-lane bridges. You go about 20 miles an hour. But the view is spectacular. It's through the rainforest. The waterfalls are cascading down the side. You got the silver ribbons of streams going right by. You look over the edge, whoa, into the sea, just crashing against the lava rocks below. And finally, if you stick with it for the 30 miles and get there at the end of that long journey, it's like all that's really there is like a little village, a couple stores, a really understated hotel, and a gas station. And you watch some of the tourists, they get there and they kind of throw up their hands and say, I went through all of that just for this? Forgetting that it's not about where they were going. It was about that amazing journey and road that will be with them for the rest of their lifetime. But when we are moving too fast and we're getting caught up with the anger or the resentment or the people who are pushing the buttons and I'm not mindful, then all of a sudden I begin to express in ways that are less than divine, that are less than spirit. Franz Kafka said that if you can get quiet, life will unmask itself for you and roll in ecstasy at your feet. Ecstasy at your feet. I kind of like that idea. It's like, but I got to be quiet. I've got to slow down and remember what I am. I'm spirit expressing. And what is God? God is love. So what I am meant to be in this world is the love expression. And how do I do that? Well, I got to listen to what's inside of me, because that will tell you, hey, this is what turns you on. This is what you enjoy doing. This door, it's not really yours, but this is. And as I begin to listen to that, all of a sudden, I begin to feel the power flow. I begin to find the strength. I find the abundance flow into my world from unimaginable ways. All of a sudden, I find my body getting healthier and stronger and revitalized and energized. All of a sudden, people are coming to the world that support this vibration in which I am. And what is this vibration? But doing what I love, and that's the love vibration that is going to lift this world. So my challenge to you is to get quiet and sit and realize and figure out what that is and be that love vibration in the world, and bless all your friends and family and the people you work with and everyone you come in contact, because that is what you've been sent here to do. I love you. God bless you.
Comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome. to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home. 'Cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here. Here.
All Are Welcome Here, from the album Path of Light, was co-written by Peggy Lebo and Reverend Christian Sorensen. It's available at www.peggylebo.com.